Program. Herbert Wigwe, wife and son laid to rest after week-long funeral rites. President Tinubu condemns Benue and Kaduna abductions, directs immediate rescue of captives, and later on the show, soaring food prices dampen Ramadan spirit in Nigeria as Jigawa State Governor announces plan to feed 171,900 people daily. The Commissioner for Religious Affairs and Kebbi State, Mohammed Sani Aliyu, will join us for that discussion. Today, I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otutoju and Dotun Oladipo. We're ready? Journalist Hangout starts now.
Every major news story is with Benue perspective and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV station of the year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we move on, let me introduce my guest again. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Bikeo, Mr. Oladipo. Happy Sunday to you.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the program. Now let's begin with a heavyweight boxing bout that was reduced to a grudge fight between Nigerians and Cameroonians on social media. Nigeria-born British boxer Anthony Joshua denied Francis Ngannou his first victory in boxing with a second-round knockout win at the Kingdom Arena in Saudi Arabia on Friday night. Joshua came out in the second round ready to prove that the knockout he recorded in the first round was no fluke, as his crushing right hand sent a...
Ahead, but the judges thought otherwise. For someone who was only competing in the boxing ranks for the second, because his first fight was against Tyson Fury, and he's been denied an opportunity to win a boxing fight for the first time by Joshua. I think that Joshua was too quick for him, and he even said he didn't know when the punch hit him. Most times you don't know when the punch, because if you knew the punch was coming, you will avoid it. So when he said that, I said, you don't know what you are up against. And you see, for that fight, he got 16 million pounds, while Joshua got 30 million pounds. The purse that came his way from 440,000 pounds to 16 million pounds. It's massive. He has nothing to lose. Our guy beat him. I'm proud of Joshua because he is happy to profess his Nigerianness at every opportunity. He talks about goosey soup and all that, those delicacies that he likes. I hope that he will be able to win the big fights against the big boxers, Tyson Fury, like Wilder, you know, because many people still doubt him. They still think that it's not good enough or that it's a spent force. Maybe this fight he's been able to send a message with the decisive manner. He dispatched.
But did you think Francis underrated him in any way?
No, no. I think that Francis is a very good boxer. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been able to win a lot of fights. He has been I don't think so. Although in boxing, if you are not good at boasting, you won't have many supporters. So I don't think he underrated him. I think he fancied his chances of winning. But as Mike Tyson said in those days, everyone thinks they stand a chance until they get punched in the mouth. You know, so until he got punched on the cheek, he thought he stood a chance against our man, and I'm happy they can sit on so giving it back to us, and Ghanaians are supporting them. I might want to believe that it is Nations Cup, part of what happened in Nations Cup that people have not forgotten.
Dawson, you think, I mean, you agree with those who have said that fight will go down as one of the best in Joshua's career?
Well, what I reflected on were the words of Joshua before that fight. He studied his opponent. He knew his weakness. As somebody who just coming into the professional boxing rank, he opened himself up too much for punches to the face. And that's the most dangerous. That's what makes people lose consciousness when you are fighting. He did it about 5 times. Been 114 kg. And with fufu in his system, as he says, plus good dose of ogbono egusi, and he lands a punch to the face. No matter how heavy you are, something will give. And that's what happened to him 3 times. The opening stages were good for him. You know, in his own former world, it was about breaking somebody, bringing the person down and all the rest. But this was about punching. Yeah.
I mean, then he said he had some health issues. But did you see was there any major improvement?
Yeah, really. He stepped up now. He had a lot more movement around the ring. Yes, you can maybe want to compare opponents also. Because like we say, when you are in a game, whether football or any kind of sport, the attacking prowess or power of your opponent will determine whether you are able to survive. The Eagles played defending in the last Nations Cup. And when we had a team that could attack, we paid for it. When we had a team that was also laid back, we didn't stand a chance. So that's why for a lot of people, including yours truly, I'm looking forward to the next fight.
Which some people have said might be against Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury, Alexander Hughes, any of them. But we need to prove that Joshua is back. That's the bottom line, and I believe he's back.
All right. Mikio, any final thoughts on this?
Well, Joshua has a way of disappointing when you least expect him to. There was no reason in the world to lose to Andy Ruiz Jr. He lost to him, and then he bounced back. You know, he picked up valuable lessons and bounced back. I believe that what is on his mind is ending it up on a big note. He has to show that he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and to do that, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
He has to beat the heavy hitters. By the heavy hitters, I mean the Wilders of this world, the Tyson Furies of this world, and those guys are big.
Are you scared for him?
Those guys are big, and they are good punchers. So I'm not writing him off, but I believe there's a lot of work left for him to do, and he has to show a bit more aggression. I'm not saying he should lower his guard in the process. He should show a bit more aggression. Those connecting those punches in a staccato manner, not simply waiting for the opponent to lower his guard. There are some opponents that are very defensive in nature. Wait and wait. They won't drop their guard because they know that it takes just one lucky punch to send them to dreamland.
All right.
So I wish him well. I'm particularly happy because of the way he professes his Nigerianness. There are some people out there who don't even want to be mentioned as a Nigerian. But this fellow, yes, Nigeria didn't make him champion. He went abroad, discovered himself, and the British government did everything possible to make him a champion. But he still remembers his roots, and for that reason, I wish him well.
Absolutely. And once again, congratulations to Anthony Joshua. Our next story is a rather sad one. After a week-long funeral rites, the late CEO of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe, his wife Chizoba, and son Chizi have been buried in his hometown in Isiokpo in Rivers State. They were laid to rest in a private interment following a funeral service at the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Lion of Judah Parish, Isiokpo. Hundreds of mourners, including friends, associates, and well-wishers, poured into the town to pay their final respect to the trio. Let's share some of these moments with you.
It's good night to the world and good morning in heaven. A shining star, now shining brighter in heaven. 1 Thessalonians 4:13-14 says, "But we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about those who have died, so that you may not grieve as others who do not have hope." My heart aches with so much pain as I pay this tribute to Herbert, a great boss, mentor, visionary, supporter, and wonderful Access Nation warrior. Like everyone close to you, I did not believe the news, and for days I hoped it would be untrue. I even tried calling your number, hoping somehow that you would answer. But as the days have turned into weeks, reality has set in. You are no longer physically here with us. Your parking lot at the Access Tower is empty. And I have not heard the normal, "Iyabo, where are you? Please come upstairs." I have come to accept that it's farewell to you on earth as the angels have welcomed you to the conference room in heaven. Herbert, you were a guiding light and an influential figure in my life for more than 2 decades. Your impact on my life and career from the first time our paths crossed at Uinjola in 2002 to the last video call on Friday, the 9th February 2024, has been extraordinary. You honed my entrepreneurial skills and taught me to be more cautious in risk assessment and creation. I learned from my mistakes, and I made some serious ones. But you were always available to try to help me work them out. And despite those that I couldn't, you didn't lose faith in my ability to excel. After my University of Life lessons, to borrow your words, at times I ask myself, what would I have become if I had not met Herbert and Ike in 2002? I am clear that I would not have stayed this long at Access if I hadn't met you. The clarity of vision and the commitment with which you drove the attainment of goals and objectives were unbelievable. I remember the hard work yourself and Ike put into convincing the entire board, management, and staff of Access in 2002. You brought hope and a new vision, And the performance in that year made the first 12 years of the bank's existence appear like a joke. You will not ask anyone what you couldn't give. Time, love, money, yourself, you pour them out. You were on a mission and seemed unstoppable. Now I know why you were in a hurry. You needed to achieve your purpose on earth. I cannot say that your human body knew, but your spirit man probably did. Herbert, you were the only one who believed you had 72 hours in each day. You demonstrated it by holding 3 concurrent meetings. One in the boardroom, another in your office, and a third in the meeting room in between both. It is still a mystery how you managed to keep every participant engaged as you shuttled in between all 3 meetings. Only geniuses can do that. You were a genius.
Herbert left us in winter, far away from home. Herbert left us before the season of bloom. Spring was just to arrive at his last location, the United States, when the Lord called for him. But spring is not the symbol of Herbert's bloom. His journey was defined by peculiar seasons. He bloomed long before his co-travelers. So this spring for us isn't the spring of festive flowers. It is the season of wrath. This spring for us isn't a season of tears. It is a celebration of Herbert's flight to a height that only a few of God's chosen ones have attained. I feel privileged to be here today to share in the memories of Herbert and the pillars of his hall that left with him.
We take comfort, solace in the fact that Herbert lived a great life. He's done so much. His legacy will live forever. The Herbert Wigwe University set up, I think it's one of the biggest legacies. And Herbert was a great man, a patriot, and someone that will live in our hearts forever. May his soul, and his wife's soul, and his son's soul, and the provider's soul, may their souls rest in perfect peace. In Jesus' name.
He has been able to do with his partner Ike, taking what you can classify as a failed bank and making it today among the 3 biggest banks in Nigeria after a legacy, and building it across Africa, you can say across the world, and other endeavors like the Wigwe University, including caring and supporting thousands of people. That is which is most important. For me, the care is most important and is done across the country. You'll be remembered for that.
All right, gentlemen, it's been a week of raw emotions, tears and tributes. Thank you.
Yes, no one expected this to happen at the time it happened. And Nigerians have shown that when you make big contributions to people's lives, you are never going to be forgotten. When Herbert died, my younger sister Iyabo, who made that glowing tributes to him, was inconsolable for days, even though my mom was living with her at that time. no one could console her, because that is the boss, or that was a boss who made tremendous impact on her career, you know. Today, she's an executive director at Access Bank. But in life, there is no such person as a self-made man. The people you call self-made men were helped by other people to be where they are. She's immensely grateful for the contributions that Herbert and Ike Mokwede made on her career, you know. And it's the same way that many other staff of Access Bank feel. And for those guys to have turned an old-fashioned bank to the biggest bank in our country by branch network, by subscriber base, those are the big parameters that you use to judge how big a bank is. Subscriber base, Access Bank having acquired Intercontinental Bank and Diamond Bank, two banks much bigger than it, became the biggest bank in our country. By even ATM galleries, Access Bank is the biggest in our country, and by branch network. So Herbert did not work in vain. He left the bank much better than he met it. And the bank staff are grateful for his contributions to them and to their individual lives. Access Bank was just the best place to work in our country, based on a survey conducted by LinkedIn. And that survey gave Access Bank tremendous points on one parameter, which is ability to keep your best talents. The best companies in the world are companies able to keep their best talents. If you can't keep your best talent, then you still have a long way to go. So Access Bank topped all the other big companies in our country on account of their ability to retain their best talents. So I pray that God will grant him and his family, his wife and Chizzy, his son, the fortitude, eternal rest in his bosom, and grant the larger family the fortitude to bear the loss.
Doctor, the kind of tributes we heard tell of the kinds of impacts he made while he was here.
Yes. I never got to meet him one-on-one before he died. I only met him at general meetings with editors at some point. I think that was even only once, because I didn't cover the business world, but I got involved when I became a publisher. But where I actually started seeing the kind of man he was, and until his death, was when one of those in corporate communications, Abdul Moyo, died. The kind of burial that was organized for him, I'm not sure I've seen such with any organization in Nigeria. And not only that, for the 2 days that the programs ran in Lagos, the CEO was there. He came on time, and he did not leave until after both programs ended. And that showed me the kind of person that he is, because when Abdul was here, when you spoke with him, once he says to you that this thing is going to be possible, that is, you make a request, you want to find out certain things, and he says it's going to be possible, then you know it's going to be possible, because he has obviously spoken with Herbert. And once he gives his word, that's just it. So it showed that people, like Miko said, believed in that company. Yes, a few people might have left, but I didn't notice any major movement at the top in Access Bank until when he went and became CEO of Access Holdings. I didn't see any major movement. You could pick, for those who relate with us directly, for instance, corporate affairs, I didn't see any movement in there. Rather, they were adding more people who could do the work. So it shows that he had the ability to retain people. Because like I say to people a lot of times, it's not sometimes how much you pay a man. Yes. It is the value you place on that man, the way you make him feel that makes him to stay with you to work. I used to work somewhere where a lot of people consider that the level of payment, especially for those of us who had magazine background, most of us didn't leave the magazine for newspapers that were paying big money then because of relationship. We had it.
Humanism.
Yes, we felt like we were a part of it. We were not co-owners, but the way our bosses related with us, you could feel it. That's why, when we mention some names in journalism, people can't even understand why we have that much respect for them. Bayo Nonuga, for instance. That was where it came from, because we had a relationship. And that's what keeps workers largely, not the pay, but the environment you create for them to work. He's a good man.
All right,
I'm using the word is because a lot of people still, I still
he lives
feel
on.
it.
He lives on in the hearts of so many
lot of people.
And we pray that God continue to rest their souls and give the family the fortitude to bear this irreplaceable loss. Right.
Amen.
Amen. Let's move on. A high court sitting in Makurdi, the state capital, has ruled that thief men do not offer their wives to visitors for sexual pleasure, amusement, or any other immoral act. The state chief judge, Justice Morris Ekpambese, delivered the judgment against the whole world after a suit filed by the Apex Thief Social Culture Organization against the Thief Area Traditional Council. The association went to court to seek some relief following the statement by a former Big Brother Niger housemate, Benita Akpofure, that thief men offer their women to their friends for sexual pleasure. Akpofure has since apologized for making that comment. Many didn't think, I can't remember that this case went to court.
No,
it was very important, though.
Yeah, the NGO, Mzov Utif, was particularly pained about the flippant manner the Thief socio-cultural group, the umbrella Thief socio-cultural group, the Thief Area Traditional Council handled the matter. They felt that they ought to have done better than that. And their whole goal in going to court was to get the court to make a consequential statement based on research, based on investigation that would emphatically lay to rest the argument as to whether thief men offer their wives to their friends for sexual pleasure whenever they are visiting them. It was a huge moment of elevated falsehood from Benita Akpofure. Benita knew in her heart that she was lying. She was married to a thief man. So the question people asked was, okay, before your divorce, was your husband offering you to people to sleep with? Because I don't know what came over her. So everybody who has been to Benue State knows that it is not true. There is no Nigerian race, there is no Nigerian tribe that offers. We used to hear it about Eskimos and there's no Nigerian tribe that offers his women to people for sexual pleasure. Not in this country. At least I should know as a historian. I should know. Such things interest me. Beyond even reading for to pass exam, such things interest me. I knew she was lying, and I knew she would be resisted. So when they rose in a wave on social media to attack her, she apologized. But to the NGO that took this matter to court, they wanted a court of law to make that pronouncement that what she said has no basis in history, is not factual in any way. And they've achieved their aim. Now, if you feel that, oh, the judge, because it was the chief judge of the state that even handled the matter. Now, if you feel that the chief judge was wrong in the judgment that he handed down, okay, you can go and appeal. I don't see anybody appealing this kind of thing, because the nonsense that Venita said, I've not had anybody that validated it. I say, yes, I lived there. I had friends who did their youth service in Benue, and some had lived in Benue. They never said that thing ever happened. So it was clear that she was speaking from her mind, a dirty mind. And sometimes they try to over-impress, you know. You put people in a house, they are forced into conversations, sometimes conversations that are needless. You know, look at what Sheyi too said. And in the end, Sheyi, because it will hurt you once you step out of the house, people will remember.
Think this brings some clout.
No, you can't lie against the whole race. The Tiv are among the 5 biggest tribes in Nigeria. You can't lie against the whole race and you think that that is clout. What kind of clout are we talking about? I mean, people do all kinds of nasty things. You sit in the studio and say absolute rubbish that suggests that your education is limited. You now think that, okay, that is what will give you clout. Which clout now? I mean, so I'm happy at least they succeeded in putting her in her place. She should have come out to tell people that, okay, oh, I married a thief man. Our marriage was fruitful. We had children, but in between that time, this my thief husband was always giving me out to his friends to lay. Was doing it willingly. And I never raised a hand. I never complained. I was enjoying it as I was being offered, as they were making me to do alejo for their friends. She didn't say that. Because people said, for somebody married to a thief man, is either
must have
she was made to do it, for that to have come out of her mind. But anyway, she's apologized, and I believe that she will never open her mouth to say such a thing again. And now it's been put to rest. It's a court of law has pronounced that the thieves have never in their culture offered their wives to their friends for pleasure. And if anyone wants to take the risk of going to Benue State to see if he could be lucky to find someone who will give his wife to him to go and minister to. You know those their hosts. Their hosts are usually much bigger than your own. They will smash that hole on your head. It is in Aljana that you go and tell the story.
Doctor, what's your take on this?
Well, I think it's good that some of these myths are being made open now. Because if this judgment didn't come, there are a lot of people who believe that is the norm. Though no one has come to say, yes, I experienced it. So it's what has been the story for so many years.
Because I heard this is like a 5-decade-long misconception.
It's just been there. And nobody has gone to challenge it. Nobody has come out to say, yes, I went to Benue and this man gave me his wife. Or the man was not even home, but the wife offered herself willingly because it is the norm. Nobody has come out to say that. So I think it's good. Like we've always said, the best place to resolve any issue is in the law courts. And this has been done now. But like BK said, I think we should put in place standards for people we put on live TV, especially these reality shows, that this should have ended a strike and should have been thrown out of that house. She shouldn't have been allowed to stay a minute longer, because that would have served as a lesson to others.
It's an act of provocation.
Yeah, you don't go around denigrating other people, not even the whole race. The race as important as it is. It's wrong. And if we don't put a stop to it, some of these things will continue.
Right. So, gentlemen, before we move on, what does this also say about the importance of responsible and respectful reporting on indigenous practices? Because you remember when Oba of Lagos and some other Lagos indigents went so hard on Jade Oshibero when she produced the Gangs of Lagos for the misconception on how Eyo masquerades. So what does it say on about the importance of indigenous, responsible reporting on indigenous practices?
Yeah, a lot of our people don't read. They don't read. They are too lazy to research about people, events. And though until my adult years, I wasn't really coming to Lagos, but I had read a lot about Eyo festival, and it was a festival that people enjoyed taking part in. Eyo is not a festival, for example, where you see people being killed, where people will be bloodied all over because they are being clubbed to death and all that. So, and the truth is, the Southwest is the safest part of our country, and Lagos is the safest state in Nigeria today. I'm saying this is something that I can prove. We get into an argument, I'm ready to prove that Lagos is the safest state in Nigeria today. How many times do we hear that people have been kidnapped? Hundreds of people get kidnapped in a day in some states. Look at Sokoto. There are some local governments in Sokoto where you know that at any time you could be kidnapped. Isa is one of them. Tureta is one of those local governments. Gada, one of those local governments. Many local governments like that in Taraba, in Sokoto, in Zamfara, where you know that if you are not careful, you are unlucky, you could be kidnapped. They will move into a community and kidnap dozens of people. It still happened 1 a.m. on Saturday when they went to kidnap those school children. You know, how many times do we read about that in Lagos? So to do a movie trying to portray Lagos as a lawless place is silly, to say the least. Because you can't support that with facts. They tell me, oh, they rob people in traffic, this and that. Oh, many people would prefer to be robbed in traffic than to lose their lives to bandits. You will be taken into the bush, they will collect ransom and still take your life. Sometimes they will tell you to send someone to come and deliver ransom. When that person comes, they will release the earlier victims and hold the person who brought the money. This is what we see in Kaduna and other places. You can't compare all of those states with Lagos. So you can't do a movie that portrays Lagos as a city of gangsters. It's futile, it's a waste of time, because you cannot support that with facts. Yes, money and cultism. Every society has its own issues. In the South, Akwa Ibom and the rest of them, their issue is cultism. They hardly experience armed robbery. The issue is cultism. Lagos, cultism, or money less, they are a big problem. But in spite of that, it is one of the safest states in Nigeria. And I affirm again that the Southwest is the safest geopolitical zone in our country. Without a shadow of a doubt, is the safest geopolitical zone in our country. And Lagos is at the heart of that. When Lagos came up with the idea of supporting the security agencies with vehicles and all that, other states adopted it. They copied it from Lagos. the social security scheme. They copied it from Lagos. So people can badmouth Lagos as much as they like. They cannot support it with facts.
All right.
Talk is cheap, but let's look at the facts. Let's place the facts on the table. They won't be able to defend it.
Right. So, Dr. I thought it was important to talk about that because Venita is a celebrity, an entertainer, so to celebrity, quote unquote. Jadi is a celebrity. And with what she said, for instance, many young girls would have gone ahead with that narrative.
Yes, that's why, like Biko said, it's also good when you read something, check. Google has made it very easy for us to fact check. The one on Neo is even quite easy. Anything that you don't do in the cover of darkness, like Eyo, for instance, you can see it. As a young boy, I stayed for a while in the Art of Idumota itself. And we see the peaceful nature of Eyo. Yes, there can be some other masquerades where they beat themselves, but not Eyo. Because a lot of people even think that it's only one masquerade in Lagos. No, it's not. Eyo is really very unique. The one that a lot of us find very amusing is the tall one, Agere. You know? And you see all those ones when they are on the street, they throw their tail this thing on your car. You know, they play with you and all the rest. So we need to get our facts right. Google has made life very easy. And as celebrities should be careful. We shouldn't even portray our states and our country in bad light.
But do you think Google is enough? Because
Google
last year, a particular Yoruba movie producer, apologized to some traditional worshippers in Osun State for 7 days on Instagram because of how she portrayed them in a movie.
Yeah, that's also fine. Because I'm sure what she didn't want to be subjected to was the traditional way of handling it and going to court. Like if Venita had been taken to court and fined heavily now, she won't do it again. But now it's just a general pronouncement, which I think we should go past now.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move on. As Nigerians await the commencement of the student loan, the federal government has stated that the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NELFund, portal for eligible students will open this March. Executive Secretary of NELFund, Akintunde Sawyer, urged eligible students to register to access the fund. Speaking on the reason for the delay, Sawyer explained that the process is technically driven and necessary measures are needed to put in place for proper implementation. Biko, let me start with you.
Let me begin by saying that we are there already. On Thursday, the president will officially kickstart this student loan scheme. So, yes, people have had a reason to be apprehensive. I even read on one of my friends' Facebook wall, that, it's an audio loan. This is a government that is deceitful. This is an audio loan. It will not happen. I know I can say emphatically today that on Thursday, the president will finally kick it off. So all of the claims that, it's an audio project, it will not happen, it will not come to pass, this government is a lying one, this and that, all of that we will put to rest on Thursday. So now listen to what the executive secretary said. This is a program that will probably run beyond me as a human being. And this is something that we want to run adequately, so we have to get it right. I agree that for a game changer of a program like this, you have to get it right. Don't rush into it. Do it in a manner that is foolproof. We have said that only the people desire it the most must benefit. I'm aware, for example, that even students of private schools, private universities, they are saying that they should be enrolled on it and all that. The same way that private universities are now asking for TED fund.
TED fund, yeah.
To fund their researches and even help them freshen up infrastructure in those schools. A private university set up with the purpose of making money in mind. Why should they want TED fund? TED fund was not set up for that. Why do they want state universities? A lot of state universities are benefiting from TED fund.
Yeah.
Many of them without TED fund, they won't even have buildings.
That's true.
Maybe 1 or 2 buildings, because some of those states are not funding those universities sufficiently. They've not got enough funds. People can't pay salaries regularly. They've not got enough funds, yet they see setting up universities as a political thing. So you can see now the proliferation of universities, and even ASU is complaining about that. So
it was just last week we talked about Ambrose Ali University.
Yes, it's not the only one. Even some of those universities are worse than secondary schools in some places. Some secondary school infrastructure are better than what some universities have. If you see even primary schools, some primary school infrastructure in Borno State, for example, you will argue that it is a primary school. You know, the governor is just something less. I saw a primary school built in 100 days. In 100 days, the last time I went to Borno, I saw the primary school. That community had never had a primary school, so they asked for it, and they gave them. If you see the building and the things that they put there, recreational facilities and all that, you will never believe it's a primary school. Public primary schools are never built to be that attractive. So, yes, in September, they said they will kick it off. September became October, and then we came to January 2024, they said they will kick it off. But now, we've been told that unfailingly, the president will kick it off on Thursday. Let's just pray that now we have a date that will not change, and many people will benefit from it. People will not know the value now. It's several years after that they will know that, look, they've been fortunate to go to school because there was a scheme like this. I remember the famous lawyer, Awomolo, telling me that he would not have gone to university if not for this kind of loan scheme. There was a student loan scheme back then when they were growing up that I benefited from. He told me. So when he heard that the president was going to do this, he was quite happy. He said, put me on one of your programs, let me talk about the benefits. And we did. So it's a thing of joy that at last this bill that the president signed into law on June 12, 2023, to give indigent students access to interest-free loans will eventually kick off. And they've said that it is 2 years after your service year that they will begin to deduct the money. So kudos to the president for coming up with this idea.
And for those who also said, what if the beneficiaries remain unemployed 2 years after? What will happen? So the secretary said if you're in private business, you will tell the loan board how you want to repay, either in the 10% model or any other percentage you want.
Yes, I think it's okay that the secretary is speaking now. That's Aketunde Sawyer. What we've had, and which I discovered about 2-3 weeks back, has been that the secretary has been doing a lot of groundwork. I started seeing photographs in the media about 3-4 weeks ago, meeting with this, meeting with that, and I think it was good that he didn't rush Nigeria into that program. that he did what he ought to have done. And what do I mean by that? There is always this feedback we get in Nigeria after giving out loans, people not repaying, and the system being unable to find them, to track them, to trace them. But I think one of the things that has been done has been liaising with the National Youth Service Corps. How do we even track these people when they finish serving? If we are going to get our loans 2 years after service, then we must have a way of tracking them. He has also met with the Ministers of Education. He has met with TED Fund and all the rest. So it's a good planning process. And I think the major thing Nigerians want now will be information in the public space. Yes. What is going to happen? Now we've been told it will be 2 years after, because some people are thinking it's the kind of loan that you take now and the next semester you begin to pay back. No. You take it now, pay directly to your school. You are not going to have access to the money, because that's the good part about it. So that some parents don't collect the money, and instead of using it to pay school fees, go and use it to marry more wives. So it's a good one. Let it go directly to the school. So meetings have been held with the National Universities Commission, National Board for Technical Education, every strata of our institution. So you now have a system that can fund, that can pay directly into schools. So that has been sorted out. You now have a system that can track those who take the loans. So you can't just disappear into thin air. Anywhere you are.
Major concern.
Yeah, anywhere you are, even if you are out of this country, the system will be able to track you, because all of these things will go into the database of the government, because your NIN is there. So if you take a passport, international passport, for instance, and you decide to travel out, it will be on the system that you are out of the country. And if you get a job, because NIN is now important, BVN is important for all of these things, it will show where you are part-time. So I think I support the thorough planning that has gone into this. Instead of rushing to start it in October or November, and then we get to some point and we say, we are stuck. So it's a good one, and we should give kudos to the executive secretary.
But before we go on break, Bikil, now that the scheme is scheduled to kick off on Thursday, do you expect that it must have accommodated some of the concerns of ASU and NAS?
No, the ASU was even opposed to it. Have been issue, and I can't understand why.
Even till now,
ASU does not want the student loan thing. I mean, for me, it is not even their business. It is meant for students. Leave it for the students. But ASU, so it had nothing to do with the demands of ASU. The ASU demands are quite different. And it did not spring from an ASU demand. ASU never asked for it. ASU wants tertiary institutions to be properly funded. ASU wants infrastructure in federal universities to be freshened up sufficiently, and there should be a fund, set aside for that. So those demands have not been totally met. So ASU has demands on the table that are yet to be met. Even the matter of IPs, it has still not been implemented the way the industrial court said it should. So, and they are still being owed salaries. Government agreed to pay 4 months out of 8. So the remaining 4 months are still there. It's part of even the demands that the NLC made, that federal tertiary institutions, their salaries being owed them should be paid. So,
since we're talking about education, tomorrow or today seems to be the last day of the 7-day ultimatum SANU gave to the federal government.
I think they will meet their demand in the end. I guess it was a mix-up somewhere. There's no way this president would have said, don't pay Sanu. It makes absolutely no sense. If you are going to pay ASU, who are the cause of the strike in the first place, if you pay them, why would you not pay people who are quite passive about the strike? I mean, if you won't punish the other people, why would you punish these ones who are not at fault for the strike? So there was a memo to the effect that they should be paid. So I don't know what happened along the way, but I know it will be addressed.
So you want to make some contributions there?
Yeah, that will be sorted out too. Because it's not as if the government has all the money waiting somewhere just to pick. It's going to be sorted out. But like we've always said, it's good to talk. Talk with the people. Let them know this is where we are. And this is at the point at which we are going to make this available. And to the unions also, like we've always said, there is, no matter how much fight you put into your cause, you are still going to come to the table to resolve it.
Dialogue. All right, gentlemen, let's go on a break. And when we come back, we will move on to security matters. Please stay with Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting.
Welcome back to Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Thank you so much for staying with us. And I've been hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Dotun Oladipo. Now let's move on to some security matters. Benue State, north-central Nigeria, is at the receiving end of brutal attacks by bandits again. In the face of the attacks, the state governor, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, said the 14-day ultimatum given to herdsmen who are engaged in open grazing has elapsed. Governor Alia declared that now is the time for the full implementation of the anti-open grazing law by security agencies in the state. Let's hear from officials of the state, and we'll be right back to talk about this.
The 14 days, which was issued as the ultimatum for armed herders to leave the states, lapsed. The provisions of this law, the anti-open grazing law, regardless of your background or wherever you come from, the full weight of the law will be brought to bear on you. I must say this for emphasis.
That the law is not against herders. What the law is against is open grazing. The law is enforced. If you are caught in the act of open grazing, the law will take its course.
I'm assuring you, the security agencies, Operation White Stroke and other security agencies operating within the state will implement the full directive of the state.
Right, gentlemen, over 5,000 deaths were attributed solely to attacks by herdsmen during the time of the former governor's summer autumn. Yeah. And for majority of the stakeholders, this is a welcome development. Dotun, let me start with you.
Well, for me, it's not as if it's not a good development. But the big question is, was that law repealed at any point in time? What happened that brought them back? Because this was largely what the former governor had to contend with. You recall that at some point in time, even the governor was attacked during one of his visits to a community where they said they spotted herdsmen. So this law, it wasn't as if after the former governor left, or the fact that there was a change in party, moving from People's Democratic Party-led government to an All Progressive Congress-led government, that there was any law that changed in that place. So, coming to say you are giving another ultimatum to enforce seems to me like maybe you allowed them in and then you now want to enforce it. The law has been there all this while, as passed by the past administration. So how this happened?
There were reports that the governor had to soften some of the measures.
How this happened, I wouldn't know, because everywhere around the country, including the Federal Capital Territory, we've been talking about stopping open grazing. In fact, the last administration did promulgate a law, did set aside huge sum of money for ranching. So how we have now come to this point where this same set of people have now become lords and laws unto themselves, I don't know. Because some things are usually very strange to me when I hear them. We should ensure that this doesn't happen again. Not under the watch of a PDP-led government or under the watch of an APC-led government. What has happened in Benue in the last 8 years, 9 years, is enough to wipe out the whole country if it had been allowed to spread the way the herdsmen were going about it. Because at some point, they were moving into Nasarawa and then part of Plateau, with Plateau having its own issues, distinct. So I think what the governor has said is right, but I'm just amazed that he's talking about another ultimatum when the law has been in place. It's implementation that we should be talking about. We shouldn't even be giving anybody another ultimatum. Implement the law.
Thank you. Governor Alia is now talking tough.
Governor Tom at that time was given such a bad name. He said, it's always, instead of him to pay salary, he's always talking about Fulani herdsmen. Instead he can't pay salary, he's talking about Fulani herdsmen. Under Alia now, these people have already killed. They've killed dozens and dozens of people. In one day, they killed about 50. It's gone on like that under this new governor. So, Governor Alia will be seen, is feeling what Otom was feeling. Because these guys, they even went to an IDP camp to kill people. People who are running away from you. They left their communities. You kill them, you set ablaze their houses. You now had the audacity to go into the IDP camp to still kill people. That's why Governor Tom was very sad at that time. Some of the things that they will say is because he cannot pay salaries. You are ignoring the real issue. He's complaining about people killing his people. You are saying he's politicizing it. Why are you so wicked in the way you reason? In Agatu, recently, they killed people. They've been killing people in Benue.
Even on Thursday, 16
They've
people
been killing
were killed.
people. So if Otom meant well when they came up with that anti-open grazing law, because we cannot continue to say, we are doing our best to ensure peace between herders and farmers, and you are watching people eating up crops, using their cattle to eat up crops that it took a whole year to tend. There was a video that I saw from Ekiti where someone's farm was literally destroyed. And according to him, it was in the night that they came. Because it was at the same farm the day before. It was in the night they came and destroyed a farm that cost him a fortune to bring up to that level. Destroyed. There's no way you do this to people and you expect them to be happy. Politicians have a way of politicizing literally everything, and to their shame. Because when Otom was talking about this, instead of leaders from all the parties to say, look, let's speak as one on this matter.
Let's come together.
What they said, divided along political lines. You saw some of them say, no, we don't want this anti-open grazing law. Now we have a different party. Otom was of the PDP. Now we have the APC. And they don't have peace. Now they are going back to the same law that so many of them opposed. They called him names. The instead of paying salary is always talking about Fulani herdsmen. Okay, if they are killing his people, don't you expect him to be worried? Who is that governor that they will be killing his people and they will not be worried? Did you not contest election promising that you would take care of the people's welfare, you would take care of the people's security? This is what we are seeing. You can't have, this modern age, you can't have open grazing, for God's sake. Even your cows will be bigger if you localize them in a place and they don't have to move from Borno State all the way to Lagos. On the way, they will lose weight, you start seeing their bones. But if you localize them in a place...
I saw some yesterday.
It felt like eating them. You know, if you put them in a place, they are localized in a place. Look at, one day we showed the Wasiu and these cows.
Yes, the farm.
They look like those cows that you see in Florida. Very big. Well, they look like those cows of Mambila. Very big.
The ones of Egypt in those days.
What are we talking about? In this modern age, go and look at the countries, the highest producers of beef in the world. We don't rank at all. Even in the African continent, we don't rank.
South Africa is beating all of us.
Uganda, all of them, they produce more meat than us. They produce even beef. What are we producing? What is the average? Zimbabwe, all of those countries, they produce more meat than Nigeria. Instead of us to embrace the modern methods, we still want to do it the old way, and we cause people to lose their lives in the process. What is the problem? Now, the governor is realizing that this is the way to go. There is a law that because a new government came, you relax things. Now you can see, I saw him talking some time ago and even claiming that the people who attacked that place were from Benue State. I looked at him and said, this man is playing politics. By the time they begin to kill your people, nobody will tell you when you will change.
And in his words, he said, I can see that what happened is a calculated attempt to test the resolve of my government.
And those guys will test you. They will test you if you know. So if I implemented that kind of law in Ekiti, if they see that it appears that you are not too serious, they will continue to trample on the law. They want to see whether you have the political will to enforce it. And it takes a lot of stubbornness and determination, because you will face pressure from Abuja, from everywhere. You will face pressure. When you seize the cattle, you receive. What's his name? The former governor of Ondo State said you need to come and register to graze in the forest of Ondo State. People got up. They said, no. What's the meaning? He does not own. Every Nigerian should be free to move around. Must every Nigerian be free to openly graze on people's farmlands? Are you kidding me? Do you know what we are talking about?
And even in government forests.
Government forests is saying, look, you register. They called him names. They called him names. You want people to be unleashed on people's farmlands, eating up their crops. There was a woman that I saw from Osun State. She planted ewedu. I don't know what they call ewedu. I can't remember. Is it lettuce or what is
it? Something close to that.
The cows ate up the ewedu that the old woman, someone close to my mother's age mate. How can an old woman like that make all that sacrifice? You now unleash your cow on her farm. I mean, it's
but gentlemen,
jute leaves.
8 years of education collapse in Benue State. Is this enough to secure the states?
No, it's the political will that will be enough. It's a matter. You see, we've been talking about there was a time the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps was talking about agro rangers. We've not been able to achieve that. Why? NSCDC is not sufficiently armed and empowered in terms of manpower to cover our forests. Otherwise, they have that unit, the agro rangers, under them. Perhaps when we develop to the point of having state police, we are going to be able to set aside people who will man the forest. In this country before, we used to have forest guards. They are all gone now. Those people who knew the forest back to back. It was in this country that people were taking out wood to go and make chairs. We used to do that inside this country before. But even the owners of the forest, the government, they've lost the forest to these people. The last time,
Bandits have taken over.
They've taken over. In Ondo State, they saw about 5-10 people. They had motorcycles with them. They had axes. They had this, they had that. They asked them, what are you doing here? They said they are grazing. Where are your cows? They couldn't produce any. And you said you are herders. So what are you doing in the forest? So we need that political will to go. Then we also need the force to handle it. Whether it is going to be NSCDC, it is going to be armed forest guards, we need people to be in that forest so that we are not realizing how much we are losing to this because we have stopped producing as a nation. Most of the things that you see now, we bring them from outside, even wood that we use for our chairs.
I saw imported eggs, even
so
beef.
We don't know what we are losing. We really don't. Because if we stop all of these things and we become productive again, you want to buy chairs now, you go to all these foreign companies, Bedmate, all these people bring in from China. That's why we buy now. Because for even the local carpenters that we use who produce better quality with mahogany wood, to get it is a problem. And these are things that we have freely, or we had freely in our forest before. Where it is controlled, you pay to government, you buy it, we were producing.
All right. All right, gentlemen, we're still talking about insecurity, but let's bring in this angle because as a country, we're facing an upsurge in abduction by bandits across the country. Reacting to this, President Bola Tinubu has condemned the abduction of internally displaced persons and students in Benue and Kaduna states. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, the president described the victims as very vulnerable and directed security and intelligence agencies to rescue them and ensure that justice is served against the perpetrators. BKO, this cannot continue.
It's terrible.
In total, 480 vulnerable persons.
Yes, the school that was raided, they kidnapped 100 primary school pupils and 187 secondary school pupils, making 287. Unfortunately, some of the governors in the north have not picked up valuable lessons from their colleagues elsewhere. Today in Borno State, schools are not open in the dangerous areas. No way. That was a lesson that they picked up from the attack on that school in Chibok. Monguno is a distant local government close to the border with Chad. Outside of Monguno town, the rest of the local government, nobody lives in them. The rest of the communities in the local government, nobody lives in them. Once you step out of Monguno town, once you stray out of the IDP camp in Monguno, which is the biggest in northern Borno, you're on your own. You're on your own. As we speak, Kukawa local government, even the headquarters, Kukawa local government, Boko Haram is living freely with our people. As long as our people pay taxes, allow them to go about. If you don't pay, that is when your life will be in danger. So the people have found a way in Kukawa local government, one of the biggest local government in Nigeria, to live with Boko Haram. The armed forces are not getting involved. They are not there. Just as the armed forces will not go to Guzamala local government, the headquarters, Gudumbali. No soldier is there. No police. It's been like that for so long. Abadam, we have soldiers on ground. People are not living with them. Look at what happened in Dikwa, where the governor built houses for people who that they brought back to resettle. They set ablaze all the houses that he built. They set ablaze everything. So we should not deceive ourselves that we have won the war against terror or that we have won the war against banditry. These guys are still very much around. When we praise ourselves, the armed forces like to praise themselves a lot. And some journalists too will be praising them to high heavens. Many of the people who are gatekeepers who put out a lot of those things, they've not gone to Maiduguri. They don't even know what the situation is. So any information you see, you just splash it. You go to Sokoto, there are at least 7 local governments where you are not safe. They can strike anytime. Now, I was surprised. That school in Kaduna, there is no network to the place. Even the journalists who went there on the day the thing happened, they could not find their stories from there until they got to the state capital. They couldn't find their stories. No network, which means that the people can't raise alarm. It's on the way to Benue.
Yes.
And Benue is one of the most dangerous places in our country. Even if you are a soldier, you want to drive through the roads of Benue, you are risking your life. I've seen them waste Air Force personnel like that, who drove through that area. And that was an area that, in those days, in the 90s, we used to travel through that whole area. Today, people would rather go through Kogi State to go to Abuja. You know? So, these boys deliberately target students. Why? Because they know once they kidnap students, our blood will boil. Everybody will start talking. Our government must move. Government must do something. Governments must pay the ransom. They don't go for ordinary bus passengers the way they go for students. It's deliberate.
Absolutely.
When we kidnap students, it will draw the attention of everybody. It will be a newspaper headline. And at the end of the day, you move, you pay ransom. That is what they are looking for. Ransom in hefty.
Sadly, it's working
portions.
for them.
It's working for them because we've not found a way. Every time we say, we are going to deal with these people, but we are not going to deal with them by mouth. Between 2014 and August 2023, they kidnapped 1,680 school children. We are saying that we want to do something about out-of-school children. I can tell you, as somebody who went to Zamfara State and investigated a school where bandits, a school that bandits attacked and took away students. By the time that school was reopened, almost a year after, half of the students didn't come back. So how do we defeat out-of-school children syndrome?
What would they come back to do?
Even their parents will be scared.
Yeah.
So what happened in Kuriga should not have been allowed to happen. You can't keep schools running in places where you know, look, the closest military formation to that place is 35 minutes away. So who will come and save them? You can't allow schools to run in such places. I mean, we shouldn't be doing this. It was the same mistake that we made about Chibok. We should have shut the school. They received threats. We should have said, okay, come and do your exam in the state capital.
Yeah.
We should have not made that mistake. When they told them, they said, no, there is security. What do you mean by security? Oh, 20 soldiers. Do you know how many people they are bringing? Do you know the weapons they are bringing? Can 20 Nigerian soldiers stand up to Boko Haram fighters carrying the same AK-47 that they are carrying, or even AK-49, and fully loaded in a truck? Can they stand them? Because sometimes they use strength in numbers. In fact, many times that they have overrun military bases in our country, they use their strength in number. When you see them coming in a wave like that, nobody will tell you before you run. It's the person who runs who lives to fight another day.
Absolutely.
So that's cool. And I want Governor Obasani to shut schools in places where the safety of those children is not guaranteed. He has to do that as their governor. He has to do that. This sort of attack should not be allowed to happen again. Lock those schools in those places where the communities are not safe. That's what we have in Borno now. The federal government Girls College in Manguno is now running in the state capital. And it's a distance of more than 200 kilometers. They brought them. Is that not better than to allow these boys to go and pack them away? Those girls will be traumatized. We will spend money to get them out.
Dr. The Vice President was also there and spoke with some of the community leaders. But also, is there no framework that can be put in place for the protection of our schools?
Yes, we've been talking about this framework for a while now. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Betokun, still spoke about it some 4 days ago. The NSCDC has a unit for school protection. But like I asked, do we have the personnel and the arms and ammunition to do it? We don't. Because that's where the problem is. Just like BKO said, 20 soldiers, and you have about 400 Boko Haram coming in different directions on motorcycles, in trucks. From where do you even start defending your own position? From where? And then these guys are now coming even with rocket propellers, RPGs. So, apart from even saving your own life, you have to save the lives of those children. Because the moment you attack, they are also going to respond. And then you are endangering the lives of those children. So sometimes it's better, once it happens, let them go. Let them take the children. Because the possibility of more surviving with them is far greater than you creating a confrontation that will lead to the killing of everybody. So, like BKO said, the North must sit down to reevaluate what it has to do. The police, as it is, can't contain all of this. NSCDC, as it is, can't. And even the military, we are far thinly too spread now. The military is involved in every sphere of, in almost all areas of operation. That's where the military is involved. Every geopolitical zone. So if you leave it at that, then what it means is that we need to get to a point where the governors will sit down together and say, see, like it was done in Borno State, let us close some schools. Soon, West African Examination Council will be having its senior school certificates examination. Move all of these students into areas where they can do those exams in safety. The good news is all of these things are now digitalized. So if you move one child from, say, a particular school to another one, that child will still write that exam because he has a unique number.
Just to write exam now.
Just to write exam. You have a unique number.
Look at the mistake we made in
nothing
Kebbi
stops you.
with those FGC students.
FGC. It's the same.
They got intel that those boys were coming. And the state government reached out to the federal government because federal government owns Unity Schools.
Unity Schools, yeah.
At the end of the day, they've almost finished the exam.
Let them finish. Let them finish.
Those boys came. Those children, they got some of those girls pregnant. Some spent over a year in there. So we can avoid some of these things. There's no need to keep a school in an area that is deemed unsafe. Because at the end of the day, they'll pick those children. They will never recover from the trauma.
They can't. Absolutely. Because Boko Haram will not go to a place where they know they have to confront about 100, 200 soldiers or a mixture, a joint team. They won't go there.
They will not do it in the urban center.
In the urban center, they won't go. It's in those areas where it's even difficult to make a call, where you don't even have network.
Nobody will come and help you.
Nobody will help.
But just a bit, seriously, this is a discomforting reality. But where do we go from here?
We have this state police that they've talked about. I want to see it happen as quick as possible. Because all of these vigilance groups that they are setting up, they are just wasting people's lives. Those boys have not got the weapons to face the bandits. You can see that the newly formed vigilance group in Zamfara, those boys killed 60 in one day. They were going to the den of bandits. Bandits that sometimes kill soldiers. They ambush soldiers now sometimes. Why were you trying to go and confront them? You don't have the resources to face them. And they killed 60. After they killed 60, they've killed 40. So what is the thing? It's just like setting them up for slaughter. But the state police, the law must empower the personnel, state police personnel, to carry the kind of assault weapons that those boys are carrying. Once the law permits that, I can see an improvement in our security situation. They have to be patriotic and rush this whole state police project so that it comes to fruition as soon as possible. All of the states of the north that used to believe that, no, we don't need the state police, what they are doing by setting up those vigilance groups and spending all that money on them, it's like state police in another name.
That's it.
It's state police. If they can give them weapons, they will give them.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your perspectives so far. Now let's discuss our final conversation for tonight. Muslims across the globe are getting set for the holy month of Ramadan, which begins this week. But rising food prices dampen the spirits of the faithful ahead of the month-long fast, with many Nigerians struggling to buy food. In the face of this, the governor of Jigawa State, Umar Namadi, says the state government will feed 171,900 people daily during Ramadan. Governor Namadi said this at the launch of the distribution of palliatives to residents of Dutse, the state capital. The governor explained that the state has a target of feeding 5.15 million people throughout Ramadan at 2 designated centers in each ward of the state for the program. Gentlemen, let's have some discussion before we join our guests.
Well, I think what I've seen in the last 1 week, I'm impressed. Even individuals now are setting up funds to be able to feed people. For instance, I know that Sulaiman Alede, a prominent broadcaster, is doing one. So I also think that a program like this, to be spearheaded by BQ, can also put some funds together and reach out to people. Don't let them build mosques with this money. Let them feed people who don't have. Because we are now at that point where it's difficult to eat. I saw a report by the National Bureau of Statistics saying that in January, the cost of eating a balanced meal, so to say, based on our local staple, was about 800 and something naira. But the case will be very different now. We will need at least 2,000 for one good meal in Nigeria. So if we can, even as individuals, don't let's limit it to the state government. let's get together, put money together, and reach out to areas where we know that genuinely there are people who need
because even the bookers that used to be very cheap and now very, very expensive.
Because the things they are also buying are expensive. So I think we can, even on this program, do something and get Nigerians together to support a feeding program.
Mikhail.
Yeah, I appreciate the governor of Jigawa State. He's showing empathy, is showing that he really cares about his people, because even in the area of distribution of palliative grains, he has also done well. He's pursuing that. So if you can feed more than 170,000 people on a daily basis, and you spread it across the wards, all the wards in the state, it will go a long way. People have suggested that we should actually, even during the holy month of Ramadan, create different points where we can feed the people, where the people can be fed for free. It will make a big difference. And, you know, the Ramadan season is an important one because it teaches self-discipline, empathy, spiritual awareness, and it broadens community ties, because you see people go into their friends' homes to eat sari, as we used to do in those days. We target when the early hours, when they are eating. We target it, we'll go and join them, we'll wait till we eat with them as if we are fasting, you know. So it's a wonderful time to look forward to, and all I want to plead for is that business people, traders, extremely selfish people, they shouldn't use this Ramadan season to cheat our people, to make so much profit at the expense of our struggling and suffering people.
I hope they listen.
It's not good at all. It is said that in the life of a Muslim, the Ramadan season is the most important, because it was during the holy month of Ramadan that the Quran was presented to mankind. So, and God himself, Allah himself, already demands that you fast. He said it, he prescribes fasting for our people. So this is a season like no other, and we want our people to enjoy the season, not to be exploited during the season. This is a season when you see people, they start selling fruits now at twice the price. This is not, it's in fact, our people are already going through a lot. So those traders should, in the name of Allah, stop exploiting people at this time, at this holy month of Ramadan. Don't frustrate those who want to fast and pray for our country and its people.
All right, gentlemen, joining us for more discussion on this issue is the Commissioner for Religious Affairs in Kebbi State and Chief Imam of Gasa Phase 1, Benin Kebbi. Mohammed Sani Aliyu, MIN, is a former rector of Waziri Umaru Federal Polytechnic in Benin Kebbi. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Good afternoon to you. Welcome to Journalist Hangout.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Right.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. How are you preparing for the Ramadan season?
We are doing our very best to see that our people are relieved relatively during the period. And as you have heard, the efforts made by the governor of Jigawa State, a lot of other governors are also into that, and they have a lot of preparations on ground to ensure that a lot of relief packages are being presented to people, at least to reduce the panic, and indeed to also make people relatively comfortably during the month. More so, like you know, fasting is one of those periods when feeding of the poor and the needy is so much encouraged. And even during certain other periods of the year, the rich and the well-to-do have always been encouraged to do good, to improve the lots of the less privileged, the poor and the needy. And that is why the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Insan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commended the well-to-do by saying that وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was praising the well-to-do who are up and doing in the feeding of the weak and the less privileged, He said they take from their money to feed the poor and the needy. And they say, we do not do this wishing to get anything or any return or gratitude from you, but we do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what the executive governor of Jigawa State has done is so much in consonance with what leaders are expected to be doing. And like I said, that is what a number of governors are doing, and that is exactly what we are into in Kebbi State.
Okay.
We have, for instance, yes.
We want you to give us details of what the governor of Kebbi is planning for the Ramadan season.
Yes, already a lot has been done. A number of people have been identified within the courts, and grains have so far been distributed for pre-Ramadan supports, and there is also a lot that is being prepared even from the ministry. We have taken statistics of wards within the states. We have identified centers, and we have also identified persons we intend relating with to be sure that the Ramadan feeding program for this year has gotten to the nooks and crannies of the state. So every effort is being done to ensure that everyone benefits from this program. Like I said, we have identified centers in each of the wards. And we have also identified contacts whom we shall be using to ensure that everyone is catered for as much as is possible.
As Muslims worldwide prepare for Ramadan, this month-long fasting, how best should they prepare?
Yes, preparing for Ramadan means a lot. And it does not mean one should always or only think about the finances, the food, and whatever. But then one should also be thinking about how best will I worship my Creator in the very best of ways? How best can I have something to break my fast? How best can I prepare for the next day's Ramadan? And in so doing, we are expected to do our part, and then the rich, the well-to-do, are expected also to support the less privileged. And that is why government on its own is doing everything possible to see that much is done from its side, as it also encourages the rich and the well-to-do to also do what best they can also be able to do. And the good thing also about it all is the month of Ramadan is the month of sympathy. It is the month of compassion. It is the month of mercy. It is a month of brotherhood and equality, where the rich and the poor are expected to look the same. And one of the very important lessons that the month teaches us is reminding each and everyone to know that, yes, there are a lot of people out there that have nothing to eat for the day. And this is how their condition is for a number of days, for a number of months, for even the whole year. So by one fasting throughout the day, and then throughout the weeks, throughout the month, it reminds one of the need to keep supporting those that are into this condition the year around. it is also a means of getting one closer to the Creator, because the more you give, the more you have, the more you give, the more you earn, and the spirit of giving to the less privileged is also so much encouraged by the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, if anyone amongst you feeds a fasting person, he will get a reward similar to the reward the fasting person has succeeded in getting for the day. The companions even asked, "O Prophet of Allah, what about those of us who are not financially buoyant to be able to do that?" He said, no, even if it is a sip of water you are able to give to someone who is less privileged or the downtrodden, and he succeeded in using it, you will get reward as if you have fed him for the whole day. And if also you are able to give him half a date or a fraction of a date, and he uses it to break his fast, you will also earn reward similar to one that has fed the person. And then that reward is an equivalent, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, to one who has fasted himself. What this means is the Muslims the world over generally are encouraged to use this period to show some form of sympathy, some form of compassion, some form of mercy to everyone around, so that everyone, irrespective of one's condition, will also be relatively on a very sound footing, will be happy, will have something to eat. And then the fear and the panic will also subside. It is true, before the commencement of Ramadan, generally you find there is a lot of dysphoria, there is a lot of worries, there is a lot of people get scared. But the moment the Ramadan commences and you see helping hands coming from all directions, the confidence in one will be rebuilding, and as the month continues, people will be getting happier and happier. So, in essence, Ramadan teaches us the concept of giving out to the less privileged. And generally, when you look at Islam, you find there are a number of things that makes one to think of giving out. The principle of zakat, for instance, is intended to make the less privileged to have something that they will also be using, something that will make them comfortable, something that will make them happy, something they will also be using to make ends meet. And in a number of places too in the Holy Quran, you find people are encouraged to give out for the sake of Allah, so that the less privileged, the downtrodden, will relatively be happy, and we have something to also keep life moving with some reasonable level of confidence and uprightness.
Let's talk, sir. Let's talk about sexual intimacy during the Ramadan. Am I permitted to sleep with my wife during Ramadan, kiss her or touch her buttocks or something like that? What does what is the right thing to do?
Yes, fasting period of fasting is between the dawn and the sunset. Thereafter, life continues the normal way. But from dawn up to sunset, one is expected to eschew from some of these things: eating, drinking, intercourse, and a number of such things. Why? The intention is one is expected through the fasting of Ramadan to get closer to his Creator. But then, after the break of the fast in the evening, whatever falls between sunset and the dawn, one is expected to live his normal life. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ الرَّفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ. That permitted it is for you to go on to your family during the nights, because they are a shelter, a cover to you, just as you are a cover to them. So that is only prohibited during the day, the period of the fast. But as soon as you break your fast, you can go into normal life on issues relating to relationships between you and your family.
But there are some ustaz, some Islamic clerics who oppose this idea, who will say during the season, don't do it.
No, it should be a mistake, because what I have just quoted is a verse of the Holy Quran, and that is chapter 2, verse 187. So it is a directive by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just an opinion. It is a directive, and clearly stated in it is the only thing one is expected not to do is, if for any given reason he is using the nights for itikaf, seclusion, to further get closer to his creator, and that is preferably done at the last, within or during the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. But as this is concerned, there is no into it yet. Yes, what do you say?
No, I was talking about Lailatul Qadr, my colleague.
Lailatul Qadr is a night. The night of power is a night in the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. And with regard to it, the Prophet ﷺ has encouraged Muslims to look for it on the 21st, 23rd, 25th, and the other odd days of the month to the end of the month of Ramadan. And God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about Laylatul Qadr says, Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr, Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr. That we have revealed it, that is the Holy Quran, on the night of power, that is the night of Laylatul Qadr. And he said, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr, that the night of power is better by far than 1,000 months. So that is to say, if only one is able to worship his creator in the very best of ways in that night, he will earn reward similar to one who has spent 83.3 months worshiping his creator. So, yes, he is.
Why is it difficult for us to, as a people, to maintain this life of chastity after the Ramadan? It's like immediately after Ramadan, people go back to their sinful lives. They start drinking, they start womanizing. Why is it not possible for us to extend it beyond the Ramadan season?
Yes, you see, the reason behind Ramadan itself, or behind the fast of the month of Ramadan, is as a result of the injunction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kutiba alaykumus siyamu, kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum, la'allakum tattaqun. O you who believe, fasting the days of the month of Ramadan is prescribed on you as it was prescribed on those before you. Why? The reason here is so that you will learn self-restraint. This is the import. This is the reason for the fast. So to make people imbibe the culture of getting closer to their creator, and then imbibe the culture of self-restraint. So if for any given reason one passes through the whole month and he could not learn this, then that means he did not really fasted the very best of ways. If only you fast correctly, God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make one imbibe this culture, and then will also make one purify his heart, and then get away, eschew from committing evils, and then going a life that is full of recklessness of that nature.
All right, Honorable Commissioner, before we let you go, one critical issue about this Ramadan is the high cost of food items due to economic hardship. How do you think Muslims can manage this situation?
And what is even the government doing in your states to weigh in on cost of foodstuff?
Yes, I have said it. the government has purchased a lot of grains, and distribution is being being prepared. I mean, how best this should be distributed, and distribution, like I said earlier, is going to be worldwide, so that to be sure that yes, this thing gets to the less privileged and the weaker ones within the society. Yes, and then the issue of rising foodstuff. Now that the government is buying, and the government has bought a lot, by the time this foodstuff is being distributed to the communities at world levels and so on, so certainly those that sell in the market will have no option than to reduce the prices. It is true there is a lot of panic now, but then by the time these food items are being distributed, that panic will reduce to the minimum. And I am sure and optimistic people will be very comfortable despite the seeming challenges.
All right. Honorable Commissioner for Religious Affairs in Kebbi State, Mohammed Sani Aliyu, MIN. Thank you so much for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So thank you too.
Right, gentlemen, you heard him. We hope state governors can do as much as they can to help citizens in this trying period.
Yes, we expect them to step in at this time and show empathy to our people. One of the big qualities of good leaders is empathy, capacity to show empathy. If you are a governor, all you are interested in doing is just go to Abuja, go and share the fact in Abuja, and you have no time to sit in your state and show empathy to the struggling and suffering people, then you are not a good governor. You are just deceiving yourself. So at this time, a governor needs to step in and do what is right, alleviate the pains of the people. The people didn't create the pains. They are not the ones who removed fuel subsidy. So you are benefiting tremendously now from fuel subsidy removal, earning far more than you used to earn. You must remember the people. Make the people the centerpiece of governance. That is my advice.
Quickly before we go.
I go with BQ. So our leaders should show empathy at this season. It should go down to the local government level too. We know what is happening with the local government, but even at that, the local government chairman.
All right. Abajide Kolade Otitoju and Dotun Oladipo, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your perspective on the program tonight. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Sunday. Abuja, Nigeria's capital, is home to some of the most beautiful edifices, but they don't come cheap.
Because to live in city center is not easy. It depends on income.
The high cost of rent is forcing most workers out of the city center to the suburbs.
Nowadays, to fuel car is difficult for everybody. 10,000 fuel in a day, I cannot afford it.
Joke Adisa tells us how Omotayo Anatoda found a home in faraway neighboring state to avoid eviction. That's on Sunday Specials, where great stories live.
When Nigeria's unity was at stake after a devastating civil war, the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) was formed in 1973 to foster national cohesion. More than 50 years after, the scheme continues to serve the purpose through mobilization of Nigerian graduates below the age of 30 for the one-year compulsory national service. Watch NYSC Hack Hour, a weekly program showcasing activities of the scheme and exploits of Youth Corps members nationwide. On TVC News every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
Soon.